The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Well, last weekend was very exciting, wasn't it? Of course, we beat Arsenal 2-0. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans will say that we beat them because they were down to 10 men. However, AFC Bournemouth, in my honest opinion, were the better side throughout the whole game, before Saliba's red card. And of course, Evan Nielsen, full credit for what he did during the match. He might not have scored, but he won both the penalty and, of course, also got Saliba sent off with that great run that he made. Now, of course, we're back on the road and we're going to another very, very difficult place to go. Now, before we do welcome in our very special guest, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, of course, we are off to Villa Park and Unai Emery's side, who currently sit in the Champions League places again. Villa surprised and defied the odds by qualifying for the Champions League. And since they've been there, they haven't done too badly either. They've won all three of their opening games against Young Boys, Bayern Munich and Bologna. And the Bayern Munich game, well, was an incredible result. Now, like I say, I've got a very, very special guest on this show. Now, my special guest is from the podcast Villa Forever, and is a very, very inspirational gentleman. It is a pleasure to welcome on to Up the Cherries in all departments, Chad Williams. Welcome to the show, Chad. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, it's great to be on the show, mate. It's actually my first opposition preview I've been on.
Now, it's a pleasure to have you on here, and I'm sure it's going to be the first of many, mate. So thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, I want you to give a bit of a shout out to your channel as well, because I am going to be heading over there tomorrow as well. So do make sure the link is in the description. Go and subscribe to Chad's channel as well. But go on to tell us a little bit more about your channel.
All right then. So it's the Villa Forever podcast, and you can follow me on YouTube, on X, Instagram, Facebook, and also we do the audio platforms: Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. On my podcast, I've got quite a lot of special guests on my show. I record one twice a week. Monday I do the weekly recap. On Thursday I do a live episode. And as well as Aston Villa topics, I'm raising awareness on my condition, which is Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And it's a genetic muscle wasting condition. It's progressive, and I want more people to be aware of this condition. It's a cruel disease. So go and subscribe to my channel, and we do the pre-match talk show on Thursdays, and I got up the cherries in all departments. Will be on my show tomorrow, 7 p.m.
It will be an absolute pleasure to join you tomorrow as well, Chad. So, no, thank you so much for inviting us. And, fair play to you for what you're doing and raising awareness. Of course, after everything that you've been through as well.
Yeah.
So, is there anywhere in particular where people can donate if they wish to? And I'll make sure that that's in the description as well below.
Well, at the moment, where me and my friend Michael Huggins, we're doing some fundraising for Acorns Children's Hospice, and it's on my we've got a Just Giving page. So any contributions welcome, even with a minimum of £2. So I'm doing a bit of fundraising for them at the moment.
Excellent. And like I say, in the description below is the link to there. So please do donate generously as well. Let's talk about the football. And of course, I want to go back a little bit, to be fair, and discuss last season and probably before that as well. Steven Gerrard left the club, and of course, Unai Emery come in. The transformation, it's fair to say, everybody will have noticed this,
Yeah.
from relegation battles to achieving Champions League football has been dramatic. What do you make of it, Chad, as a Villa fan?
Well, an Aston Villa fan at the moment, I couldn't be any more happier. I mean, things just get better and better, but it's an incredible turnaround. And I think from day one, with Unai Emery made an instant impact after that Man United game. But when it was Steven Gerrard, they were difficult times. It was boring football, and it was frustrating to watch. But then, since Unai Emery, I mean, that guy is an absolute genius. We need to get a statue of him outside Villa Park soon. I mean, Unai Emery now, we are watching football in a different way. And when he came in, he gave us a new identity, gave us some new ideas. The thing that I find amazing, Craig, he did it mostly with the same players, apart from a few signings, and he's improved every single player. But this season, I think Unai Emery, I mean, he means business. I mean, at the moment, we're top of the Champions League phase. We're unbeaten in that competition. And I think he's building something very special at Villa Park. The thing is, well, we're not even the finished article yet.
Of course, a couple of weeks back, you beat Bayern Munich 1-0 in the Champions League, and honestly, it was an absolutely fantastic performance.
Well, I was there, I was.
Yeah, it was. Was you at Bologna yesterday as well?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to last night. I watched it on the TV though.
It was an absolutely amazing performance, Chad. And I do question now how far Villa can go in this competition, because Unai Emery has great pedigree with Seville, with Villarreal, who he won the competition with on both occasions, and of course he become runners-up in the Europa League with Arsenal as well. How far do you think you can get in that competition?
Well, I think we can go very far. I mean, Unai Emery's got a great CV. in the Champions League and in Europe in general. He won 4 Europa League titles.
Yeah.
And he got Villarreal to a Champions League semi-final. So there's no reason why he can't do well with Villa. And already, I reckon that in the Champions League, we're good enough to get in the top 8.
Hmm.
And I think we're definitely getting the last 16.
I can't disagree with that at all. And in fact, Paul Merson did turn around and say yesterday as well, and I watched a little bit of it on catch up. It would be very, very difficult for Villa not to qualify for the Champions League automatically now. So
Well,
going,
I think we could even get in the quarterfinals, who knows?
I, do you know what? It would be an amazing story considering Villa not long ago were in the Championship.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot to get the club from under Tim Sherwood, of course, were relegated and it was really, really poor at that time. And now you've managed to get yourself into a position which fans like me can
Yeah.
only dream of happening to our football club. To just be in Europe, to actually be in the Conference League would be amazing for us. To be in the
Yes.
Champions League like Aston Villa are,
It's
well,
the,
I'd have
it's
to
the
start pinching
pinnacle.
myself.
It's
Oh,
the
it is.
pinnacle of football, yeah.
Yeah, and that victory against Bayern Munich, after all those years, of course, the side that you beat all those years ago as well, really does stamp, that
Yeah.
Aston Villa are back as a force and back to their very, very best.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a Villa fan.
Oh, most definitely. And I tell you what, let's go on to the Premier League as well, because a lot of people will say, and Chad, you probably thought of this, before the
Yeah.
start of this season as well, that when you get into a European competition, that there's normally a bit of a tail off. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is look at Brighton, look at Wolves. In probably a bigger sense, there was Ipswich all those years ago who finished
Yeah.
fifth, got into the UEFA Cup as it was back then, and then got relegated that same season as they beat, I think they beat Inter Milan as well. But that doesn't seem to be happening at Aston Villa.
Yeah, what think you just get up my notes just there. Well, yeah, but I mean, I never got we dropped points against the Ipswich, but I know we had Man United, but I think that was down to a Champions League hangover. But I'm not concerned because we have Unai Emery.
Hmm.
He's a genius, and we're still in a very good position in the Premier League table. But we're joint third with Arsenal, which for me, I think we're in a very good position still.
Are you happy with the strength in depth as well? Because that I think was probably Brighton's failing. That was Wolves' failing when they were in Europe as well. It was definitely Ipswich's failing. That you can finish fourth despite going far in that competition. You could go far in the Carabao Cup, in the FA Cup, of course. It hasn't started for Premier League teams as yet, but again, it's another competition which I think Villa could, go quite far in, and surely there's going to be some silverware at the end of this.
Well, first of all, I'm very happy with the strength in depth in the squad. Because I think we've got a very strong squad, and we got good options as well. Because you scroll the other bit on the top of the other way, a bit more. Yeah, 'cause the thing is, I think like going back to what's a strong squad. We have a strong bench as well. I mean, but most teams that do well, successful, you need to have a strong bench. And we've got the likes of like John Duran, Ross Barkley, Ian Martin. And they're really effective. I mean, especially John Duran, he can't stop scoring at the moment. And I think we are definitely in contention for the top four, especially a good start to the season. And I know you got in there. I think we're amongst those teams. You got the likes of Liverpool, Man City.
Mhm.
You got Arsenal, but then I think Villa come into that category with the likes of Chelsea. I think like Spurs, like Newcastle. But the big thing we need to do, I think, we just need to avoid injuries. And Emery wants consistency. We've got to be consistent.
Yep, most definitely, most definitely. Well, just looking at the record so far in the Premier League, Chad, 5 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat
Yes.
since the start of the season. Are you happy with how it's gone, considering those 2 draws against Ipswich and Manchester United? There could have been arguments that you could have won those games.
Okay. Well, I mean, the Ipswich grind was difficult.
Mhm,
I mean, the big thing we've got to do, I think, we need to improve defensively.
mhm.
That's what let us down in that game. Then we should have beat Man United.
Yeah,
That's down to tiredness. No, I'm not massively concerned though. Where we are, the amount of points we've got, we're right up there with the big teams at the moment.
definitely. And like I say, fans like from Bournemouth could only dream of being, in that position, Chad. We'd love to, have that have that run, have that
Mhm.
opportunity to do what Villa are doing. And fair play to you. And it's great to see you back at the top of the table, where, to be perfectly honest, Aston Villa belong.
But we
Um,
belong.
yeah, I think one player I do want to mention, though, is somebody who was at Bournemouth a little while back, 3 years ago. You're probably all thinking Tyrone Mings was who I was going to mention, guys, but I'm not. I'm going to save that for a moment. But
Yeah.
Morgan Rogers, 3 years ago, was on loan at AFC Bournemouth, and it was a little bit of an uninspiring spell for him, but he's
Yep.
become something else at Villa Park. Um, what do you make of him?
Well, I think it's one of my favourite performers this season. And Morgan Rogers is a real favourite with the Aston Villa fans.
Mhm.
But for his time at Bournemouth, it's probably a bit unfair to judge him now
Yeah,
because he was still young and he was learning. But I think Morgan Rogers is a breath of fresh air. What I like about him is absolutely love his confidence, and he works really hard. Even when he hasn't got the ball, he's pressing. Pressing's amazing. He doesn't stop running, and he's one of our best ball carriers in our team. He carries the ball really well, and he gives the team so much energy. And he's not even afraid going past players. And I think great work by Monchi and Unai Emery signing him from Middlesbrough. Because he played well for Man City before that. And Unai Emery knew he could work on Rodgers, developing him. And Unai has got the best out of him. And I think if he carries on, he has to get in that. He has to get in that England squad.
I can't disagree with that one bit. And he looks the polar opposite. Like you say, Chad, it was probably a little bit unfair of me and
Yeah.
to criticize him because he was a
Mhm.
youngster, but he is the polar opposite really now of what we saw. A few Cherries fans were quite disappointed with his contributions. Villa fans, like you say, absolutely love him, and what he's shown when I've watched him. He's come on leaps and
Oh, yeah.
bounds since then.
And he's shown his true potential.
Mm. Well, of course, Unai Emery is a very good coach because he has picked up another player, and one player that really does stand out, John DURAN. He's looking like he's going to probably be Villa's player of the season so far. Of course, there's a lot of competition in the Villa squad, but I think he could potentially win Premier League Young Player of the Season, or even Player of the Season for the Premier League as a whole. He's only 20 years of age. How much of what he does he owe to Unai Emery?
Well, I mean, I absolutely love John Duran, but I think John Duran, he owes a lot to his manager, I think.
Mhm.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Unai Emery trusting him, sticking by him. I know a lot of things went on with the West Ham antics, but all of that now, what he's done, is all forgotten. And all the way now, he's changed his attitude.
Mhm.
Because before, he used to do a bit wrong antics. The thing is, though, you have to remember, he's only 20 years old.
Yeah.
But I think Unai Emery has managed him very well. I think it's fair play to John Duran, because he's been working very hard.
Mhm.
He's scoring goals, and he wants to start more often. And he has definitely proved what he can do. And he looks very happy. And at starting at Aston Villa, he's really enjoying his football. And he is very talented. He's showing now his true potential now.
Oh, most definitely. And I think he's a player that could, at this moment in time, go into any Premier League squad and be a part of that starting 11.
Yeah.
I really, really rate him. And like I say, I would not be surprised if he was Young Player of the Season for the Premier League, or even Player of the Season at this
And
point in
also,
time.
this season,
Hmm.
he scored some important goals for us,
Yeah.
including last night and the Bayern Munich guy. I mean, he's going to get to double figures the way it carries on.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine that. I can imagine that. And there's already the Duran links. I don't know if they're Aston Villa fans, are they? I don't know if
Um,
Duran are
I'm
Villa
not, they
fans.
might be. I'm not sure.
I think, if
I
I'm
think
right
they are.
yeah, I think there is that link, isn't there? There is that link. I
The thing
think
is,
one of them.
hungry like the wolf.
Yes. Yeah. Well, John Duran is very, very hungry, and I tell you who else is very hungry is Ollie Watkins. Are you concerned of somebody coming in for him, considering how good he's been for club and now country?
Well, I mean, at the moment, I'm not massively worried. Of course, the way he's playing, there is going to be a lot of interest from the big clubs. But I think the big thing is, if Aston Villa remain in the Champions League again, I think Watkins will stay. With a lot of clubs, the Champions League is a big pulling power.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I would echo that. I think as long as Villa are successful, I can't see him going anywhere. I think as soon as that Champions League position does drop off,
Yes.
unfortunately, the way football is at the moment, and with Manchester City and y- you name it, they do have that amount of money, which is
And money talks.
yeah, exactly. And I wanted to mention that actually because, of course, Unai Emery's hands were a little bit tied, I feel, during
Yeah.
the summer because of this PSR. And to be honest, I can't stand PSR. I think Everton shouldn't have
Yeah,
been deducted
PSR, yeah.
points. Don't think Forest should have been deducted points either. And Villa. have been restricted from strengthening even further because the money's there. I think the money is there at the football club. But Emery's just got on with it. Is that what makes Villa different to a lot of other clubs out there?
I think that Emery's dealt with it really well.
Hmm.
The football club, not the players. I mean, obviously, it was a shame we lost Douglas to Leeds.
Yeah.
We had to make a big sale due to PSR. But then we replaced them with more quality. The likes of Amadou and Arna. And I think I completely trust him. And Emery's got the experience to do it. And with Emery as well, he's got his freedom. And he's got the complete backing from his owners, the board, and his sporting director. So really, with Unai Emery managing Aston Villa, he's been given the keys to the castle, which has given him full control over decisions.
Definitely. And I think there's a lot of faith from, the hierarchy at Aston Villa. And so there should be. So there should be. What he did at Villarreal was absolutely unbelievable. Of course, I followed them quite closely as well because Arnaut Danjuma was
Yeah,
playing under Emre at the time as well.
he
And
did, yeah.
I would say under, and this is no disrespect to a Jason Tyndall or Jonathan Woodgate, who of course also managed Danjuma here, or even Sir Eddie Howe. But I think that Unai Emery got more out of Danjuma than any
Yeah.
other manager has throughout his entire career, and he's played under some other very, very big managers as well. Of course, at Spurs and of course at Everton as well on loan. So
Yeah.
you can see how much quality the Unai Emery wasn't really given much of a chance, would you say it, Chad, at Arsenal?
No, he wasn't. But what
And
it is, I think that Arsenal,
mm,
their fan base, really, they didn't give him much time. Where a team at Aston Villa, he could build a project there.
mhm.
Where he pretty, if he went somewhere else, look at Man United, he probably wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And looking at our last performance, and what I'll do is I bring in Arsenal here because the thing is we
Yeah.
recently beat them, an absolutely fantastic performance. A lot of people will say it was because they went down to 10 men,
I
but
bet you were very pleased.
oh, I was absolutely delighted, mate. And to be fair, it was actually the performance before the sending off that pleased me more than
Yeah.
anything. As soon as the sending off happened, I thought, right, we've got this. We have got this game in the bag. But the thing is we were the better side before that sending off as well.
You were.
Yes, Arsenal do have moments of brilliance and they can really hurt you. But what did you make, and how do you think Villa will and Unai Emery will stop an Andoni Iraola's side, considering they both know each other very well? They're both Basque managers.
Yes. Well, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, of course. So, how do you reckon that Aston Villa will try and stop Andoni Iraola's side? So, AFC Bournemouth, because of course they're both Basque managers, as is Arteta as well.
Yeah. Yeah, go on in. I think they know each other really well, which I think helps, but they play a very similar style of play, I think.
Hmm.
And I mean that we know they know each other's games very well, but I think Villa can exploit them on the counter attack. But then Bournemouth are, I think, dangerous in the wide areas and in the fullback positions. So that's something we need to be wary of. But yeah, I think Emery will probably get the better of him, probably.
You did mention earlier on defence is possibly the weakest area of the pitch. Would you
Yes.
agree with that?
Yeah, I think defensively,
Hmm.
it's the biggest concern. I think we need to start keeping more clean sheets because we don't, like last night, I was happy.
Hmm.
We kept a clean sheet of Champions League, but we need to try and do it more often in the Premier League. But I think the big thing is what we miss is Tyrone Mings,
Hmm.
which the good news for us is back. So it's going to feel like a new signing. And also with Tyrone Mings, we're missing the leadership qualities and his communication skills. So if we get him back to a fully fit Tyrone Mings, we might not concede as many goals, I don't think.
That was going to be my next question with regards to Tyrone Mings. Whether or not he's got a future at Aston Villa, but I think you probably answered that he has. Of course, his injury record has not been good.
No, he
Um,
hasn't.
so, do you think that Unai Emery will look, maybe in January to actually replace him if he hasn't hit full fitness by that point?
Yeah, I think it all depends on his fitness. But I still think in the window, we need to look for another centre back,
Mhm.
especially for cover as well. Because so if Ezri Konsa gets injured, like because I mean, he's been struggling a lot of injuries as well, then we're gonna struggle at the back. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it might give him maybe a few months time innings, but it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the season will he still be at Aston Villa.
I guess one of the players that Unai Emery probably got earmarked is
Mhm.
probably Mark Gay of Crystal Palace. And I
Yeah.
think, Concert and Gay were very, very good,
Mhm.
especially at the Euros for England. Would you be happy with somebody like that coming in?
Yeah, I think Mark Gay is very solid at the back.
Mhm.
And he's really good ball playing centre back. So maybe we need to look for somebody like him. And also, he's an England international, which is another good thing that I like as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? I've always thought that England internationals all playing for one club,
Mhm.
you know, does actually help the England national team. So
Yes.
um, I think it could only be a good thing with
Mhm.
Ollie Watkins there if Mark Gay goes to Aston Villa, Konsa as well. Tyrone
Yeah.
Mings might even get another shout in the England side if he can stay fit and get himself up to, full speed. So yeah, fingers crossed with regards to that one. I think
Mhm.
he's probably the man that jumps out to me because I always thought that Villa very very dangerous
Yeah.
going forwards, but defensively can be a little bit suspectable,
Yeah, because
especially.
they're too easy. Look, we do let in a lot of goals,
Mhm.
but we need to be a lot tighter at the back.
I guess in a way though, Chad, as well, it's kind of the style that Unai Emery plays as well, because
Mhm.
we concede quite a few goals as well by playing that very very high
The
press.
high line,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that high intensity which Basque managers seem to do. All right, Arsenal, we beat them 2-0 recently, but they're
You know what it is?
probably.
Most of the time, it's worth the risk.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. One thing I do want to mention before we come on to the prediction is
Mhm.
probably one of the most impressive performances
Mhm.
I've seen by any club
Mhm.
outside of the money spinning top six. And that was last year's victory against Manchester City, where you
Yeah.
absolutely
Mhm.
dominated them. And despite only winning 1-0, it could really have been 3, 4, or 5. Do you feel that you could potentially upset everybody in that big six or top six or whatever you want to call it and challenge for the title?
Well, with Unai Emery, I think anything's possible.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at last season, there was a time when we was very close.
Yeah.
You remember like, that Sheffield United guy? Then we started to dip in form. But obviously, we've got a good chance. I think we're definitely contenders.
Hmm.
I don't think we'll win the league. You got the likes of Man City, with Pep Guardiola. They've got the experience and know-how, in that competition. But I think the way we're coming on with Unai Emery, he's going to build a legacy at Villa Park. So I think the next few seasons, if we keep adding quality into the squad and we keep our best players, we have a good chance in the future. The way we progressed under Unai.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, you go from strength to strength. And like I say, was some fantastic performances last term. Some that many teams can only dream of. Okay, Man City had their off days, but
Yeah.
that wasn't a Man City off day. That was Aston
We,
Villa.
I mean, we completely battered them that day.
Completely agree, and it wasn't. It's not what I would say, and I want to make sure that I don't disrespect that result because
Mhm.
I personally think that City weren't in a bad spell of form then.
Yeah.
They were quality that game.
Mhm.
However, Aston Villa were just a step above, and it
Mhm.
really shows what Villa can potentially do.
It's amazing to think that we were like we've gone from Championship football
Hmm.
6 years ago to Champions League football.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. At one point, AFC Bournemouth were a Premier League team, and
Mhm.
Aston Villa were in the Championship.
But
And
those days, I mean, those days were difficult.
mhm,
But as fans, though, it makes you appreciate the good times more.
yeah, I bet. But the good times are definitely back at
And
Villa
now,
Park.
yeah, I mean, we're back where we belong now. Man. The sleeping giant's been awoken.
Well, we've got to try and predict this game, and AFC
Mhm.
Bournemouth have got to pull off again another very, very impressive result if we want to come away from Villa Park with anything.
Mhm.
It's our second game in what is a very, very tough spell.
And
Chad,
also, I bet you miss Dominic Solanke, I meant to say.
yes, we do, and
No,
Evan
but
Niels.
it's always gonna happen though. With him moving.
It is to a club like AFC Bournemouth. I think you know, unfortunately, Chad, I think the case was that and I went on Talksport a couple of times. I
Mm.
spoke to Alan
Yeah.
Pardew and Darren Bent, and I said, look, it's going to take more than 65
Mhm.
million to actually prize him away from the
Mhm.
club. Unfortunately, that was all signed in his contract, and it was all said
Yes.
that it had to be one of the big six. Um, yeah, like you say, it was always going to happen. We had to take the money. What we have spent it on, Evan
Mhm.
Nielsen. Now, Evan Nielsen, don't get me wrong, was very, very good against Arsenal,
And you
despite
saw him from, was it
Porto.
Porto? Yes.
Yeah, Porto. He scored against Arsenal actually in the Champions League the year before. And the thing is he's
Mhm.
very, very quick. He's very
Yeah.
strong. You know, he of course managed to get Saliba sent off at the weekend,
Mhm.
last weekend, which some Arsenal fans are saying it wasn't a sending off. I personally think it was
Mhm.
100%. I don't like to see any player be sent off, but at the same time, as the rules of the game go, it was a sending off. And also, he won the penalty as well. The only thing with him is he can't seem to hit the back of the net
Mhm.
against anybody apart from Southampton, which is a little bit of a worry and
But maybe
something.
the goals might come out pretty soon.
I hope so. I hope so. I think they need to come. I think they need to come because we can't rely on the likes of Semenyo, who, yes, can play up front, but, he's more effective in that right
I like that
right wing position.
Kluivert.
Oh,
Game.
Justin Kluivert, yeah, goes through the middle. He's very, very good. A very, very quality player. Of course, come off the bench and scored the penalty. In fact, Semenyo against Arsenal, they switched wings with Dongo Vatara, and Vatara was brilliant, at the weekend. So Andoni Iraola is a very, very good coach. You can see the similarities with
He
Arteta.
managed that Ryan Vallecano.
He did, yeah, he did, and did a very, very good job with them. Because if you imagine that Rayo Vallecano are like Luton, Luton, and he managed to get them into contention for a Champions League place at one point. Managed to beat Barcelona and Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. So he's a very, very, very good manager. Is he good enough to get a top job at the moment? Probably needs a little bit more time.
Oh no,
And
we can. Oh no, we can. Oh no, we can.
yeah, I even doubted him at the start, and the main reason why I doubted him was because I felt that, and there's a video on here, and I'm not going to remove it, and everybody was taking the mick
Yeah.
for it as well. But I said, Andoni Iraola's style is not working. We need to get points on the board at the start of last season. Let's bring in somebody like Jesse Marsh. Well, Chad, it's good that I'm not the chairman. I'm not Bill Foley, because that would have been an absolute disaster considering what's happened now. But hey,
And you beat Man United. Always going
um,
back to the Old Trafford results.
we were excellent that day. And especially, I think it was the second goal. It was Lewis Cook who won the ball from a position, and it was high up the pitch, that we should never have won the ball back from. It was on that right hand side. He won the ball, put the ball in, and in the back of the net it goes. And that performance, was really, it was the litmus paper for what was going to come next. That everything had just clicked. And I tell you why it clicked as well, Chad, is because at the start of the season we was playing pass, very delicate football. That's how we got beat by Everton, because we were trying to control the game in that midfield, like Arteta does, like Unai Emery does.
Yeah.
Problem is we didn't have the players, or the players didn't have the ability at that time, and hadn't worked with Andoni Iraola enough at that point to do that and play that sort of style. I think they'd be okay now, but of course, throwing it from Gary O'Neill, who plays a very long, very frustrating at times game, although I've got so much respect for Gary O'Neill, to go from Gary O'Neill's style to Andoni Iraola's style that he expected
You
was
got
always
given
change.
a new identity and style of play.
Yeah, we were. And do you know what? It's the most exciting football we have watched for absolute years. And in fact,
Where do you think you'll finish?
I would say Matt from the channel says 10th. I have got to agree with him 110%.
I think you would be happy with that.
I'd be more than happy with it. I think, though, Bill Foley is probably aiming for a little bit higher. And what that is, I think it's probably European football. But I think he's going to have to be patient and just think, right, okay, it's just another step. Maybe next year we can, aim to finish 8th, or in that Europa Conference League place. I would love to go, albeit, I'd love to go to the capital city of Moldova to play their, local
Well, the
football.
way it's
I'm
got, I
not
mean,
sure
what
who
it's going to take time. But it's going to take time.
yeah, and I think what he needs to do is follow what Unai Emery, his countryman, is doing. But I tell you what, let's predict this game. How do you think this is going to go, Chad?
Well, one prediction I've gone for a 2-0 Villa win.
2-0 Villa. 2-0 Villa. Well, I personally, hand on heart, I think this is going to be probably the toughest game of the three. And I know everybody's going to say, well, we've played Arsenal, we've beaten them. Okay, let's forget that for a moment. But out of Villa and Manchester City, Man City at home, considering how we played against Arsenal, I think is probably going to be an easier game than Villa, because I think Villa are on great form. I'm not sure about Man City, actually. I'm not sure about them. I think because of the injuries they've got, I think, yeah, okay, on paper, we should be beaten by them. But I think this is going to be a difficult game. But, Chad, I'm not going to bet against my own team.
And also,
But
with the Villa, it'd be interesting to see what the team selection is after Champions League football. What Emery's going to do.
Do you think you'll rest a couple of players?
I think a few. He might be 3 changes. Not too many, but I think he might rest a couple either.
Well, I tell you what, you've changed my prediction, because I was going to say I would be happy coming away from Villa Park with a 2-2 draw. But I tell you what, hey, let's go for it. If there's going to be changes, and
Yeah.
providing the players that come in, are well, let's be honest, it's just a quality squad. Let's go for a 3-2 win for Bournemouth. But I'm not going to bet against my own team,
Well,
Chad.
hopefully not. Hopefully not,
You
well.
Mate, honestly, it has been an absolute pleasure welcoming
I
you on.
really enjoyed it to be
Likewise,
speaking
mate.
on this show. Yeah.
Likewise, mate. And all the very, very best with your fundraising. You're an inspiration to
Oh,
so
great. I
many people.
really appreciate it.
And like I say, guys, please go and donate to the charity in the description below, and make sure that you do go and subscribe to Villa Forever as well. And it's honestly a great channel, Chad,
Yeah,
and you should
please
be very proud
subscribe.
of it, mate.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow
Yeah,
at
tomorrow at
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Yep, you're live.
Yep, thank you so much, Chad, and I'll see you then.
See you then.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Remember, hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. And please do go and subscribe to Villa Forever, and also donate generously to the charity causes that Chad explained. Again, that is in the description. Now, Villa fans, you might be interested in a previous opposition preview show we did with one of your very famous fans, Richie Neville from the boy band 5. Keep on up, or keep on moving, as it was. So do go and check that out as well. Do check out all of our other interviews as well. We've had Omid Jalili, the comedian, representing Ipswich Town. Yes, he is Chelsea as well. Yes, Chelsea fans, we do know that. But Omid does live around the corner from Ipswich and Portman Road, and therefore he goes to a lot of their games. Also, Tiff Nadell has been on the show and also took me for a spin in his BMW M2 as well. You can listen to me chuckling with fear, enjoyment, and yeah, fear of a corner being approached at 120 miles per hour. But thank you so much to Tiff for doing that. We've also had Tom Meehan from Kasabian on here, Richard Archer from Hardfi, Adam Devlin from the Blue Tones, Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays, Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene, Nick Owen from the BBC. You name it. We've had quite a lot of people as well. Do go and check out that interview as well that we did refer to with Eddie Mitchell, our former chairman. Trevor Watkins, of course, has also been on here. Steve Cook, Steve Fletcher, and of course, we've also had David Icke. We can't forget that, can we? That's very, very popular video and incredibly interesting. I probably missed somebody out, and I do apologise to them for missing them out as well. But yeah, the list is getting longer and longer and longer and longer. So yeah, soon I'll have to purposely leave, unfortunately, some of our special guests out to make way for some new ones from this long list at the end. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere. You can watch them back whenever you want. Until the next one, up the Cherries, up the Villa, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining us.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.